Controlling, the net is empty, he throws it down, and in! He scored the goal! Martin Brodeur!
The hockey gods are Red Wing fans too, it appears. The Lightning have done it! They have done it! They have gone back to back!
Unbelievable.
Hi, everybody. Shut Your Five Hole is back. Sorry for the delay. I know it's been a hot minute since we recorded. I will take full responsibility. I've had lots of life things happen. I have a new job. I'm starting it. It's very exciting. But Muffy and I are back full force. Our New Year's resolution is to be more consistent. So with that, Muffy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so ready to be back, 2023, and I'm Muffy. I am a huge Red Wings fan, grew up in Detroit watching the game with my dad. If you want to hear more of the story of my hockey background, head on back to episode 1 and you can check that out. Stephanie, who is your favorite team?
My favorite team growing up was the New Jersey Devils. It's still the New Jersey Devils, and my dad did get me a jersey for Christmas, and I'm kind of obsessed. But right now, both of us, we're kind of homers for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
It is true. We became friends over our love of hockey and going to the Tampa Bay Lightning games together. So here we are doing this podcast, teaching you about the game of hockey and sharing some game updates, some news, and lots of fun stuff.
Yep. And for those of you who are new, we break this down just like a hockey game. We've got 3 periods. The first one, like Muffy said, we'll give you news. Second one, we will teach you the basics of hockey. The third, anything goes. It's crazy. And if we get real nuts, we'll go into overtime. So Muffy, what do we got to kick us off with this period 1?
All right. Well, seeing we are officially in the new year, I thought we should talk about the New Year's Eve game that you and I went to in Tampa. Our new tradition, not tradition, because I guess we've only done it for 2 years because there's only been 2 years that they've had the game.
2 years makes a tradition.
All right,
2
perfect.
years definitely makes a tradition. I mean, they better have it again next year, otherwise I don't know what I'm going to do with myself on New Year's Eve because...
Yeah, I'm with you.
God, it's just very expensive to do stuff you would normally do. But the game was really fun.
It was fun.
They won, which is a plus.
Yes, always good to win.
Which lately I feel like with the Lightning is hit or miss.
It is very true. And, you know, I went to a game the other night. First period wasn't so great, but as you and I have said to each other in the past, we don't like it when the Lightning play the first period. They have to play the third period because that's where they shine, which they tried to let the game slip away from them in the third period. They still won, but...
I mean, I don't think we've talked about it on the pod before, but I've definitely said to you, and definitely I've had this conversation with my father, that getting rid of Ryan McDonough, I don't think that was a good thing.
No.
I think they thought Mikhail Sergachev, sorry, I'm just using...
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
I swear to God, people, we will let you know who these people are.
Mm-hmm.
And Chernak, what is Eric? Is it Eric? Is that his first name?
That is correct, yes.
Cool, that's his name. I got his name right, guys. I think they thought they were more ready than they were. And I mean, don't get me wrong, they're great, but they are not Ryan McDonough. So,
no.
Smashville, you better love that man.
Yes, yes. I also have to take a brief moment to pause and say I apologize to anyone if you hear my dog growling or barking during this podcast. She is currently doing neighborhood watch and very intent on it. So if there's a little doggy growl or bark, you know why.
Just like that.
Just like
Just very cute. So what else went on around the league around New Year's?
Yeah, so every year at the beginning of the year, the league has the Winter Classic, which is the outdoor game, usually held somewhere very cold. And this year it was the Boston Bruins versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. This game surprisingly went for a while without a goal. It was about halfway through the game before anyone scored. Pittsburgh got on the board first. But the Bruins came back in the third period with 2 goals, won the game, which I like because the game took place at Fenway Park. So, you know, home team wins.
That is
gotta
cool,
like
home
that.
team. Yeah, and Boston has been consistently one of the best teams this year.
Yes, they have. They are right up there at the top.
They've been pretty much on fire since the beginning of the season. So,
Yeah.
you know, And, we both have a thing where, Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
He is arguably very good, but we just, when there's just...
There's just those players you don't like. He's one of them.
He's just one of them.
But at the end of this year's Winter Classic, the NHL announced where the 2024 Winter Classic will be held. And I don't know how I feel about this. It is going to be the Vegas Golden Knights at the Seattle Kraken. So it's our expansion teams who are getting this next Winter Classic. What do you think of that, Stephanie?
On the one hand, I actually thought it was kind of cool. I was like, oh, the new kids on the block who... Vegas has been good since their first season.
They have.
And Seattle, where, they had a typical expansion team, right, Tiki? Right? They were not great. She agrees. This year, they've actually stepped it up. And, I think it's I think it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it verging on too cutesy? Possibly. But I know you have some intense thoughts about this.
I don't know if I'd call them intense. I feel like the league is trying to make a rivalry between these two teams, and I think you have to let rivalries just naturally happen. And Tiki agrees with me on that too. Yes, because they're both the expansion teams. They started off the season, I believe the home opener for one of them was against the other. So I just feel like the league is trying to set this up as these are the two new teams and let's make them have a rivalry, where Seattle and Vancouver are like 30 minutes away from each other. And there's you can have fans going back and forth. I just feel like a natural rivalry will come out there versus trying to force this to happen.
Yes. And we have been pretty open about how we feel like Seattle has been trying to make fetch happen since they, since their conception. I mean, I get that. The league tries to do that often. It's like when the Lightning and the Panthers play each other in the playoffs the past 2 years, and they were like, the battle for Florida. And it's like, they're not actually our rivals.
No.
But, you get Detroit in the building, and it's a rocking time.
It is very true. Because rivalries are built in the playoffs. And how many times did the Lightning and the Red Wings meet in the playoffs? We're going back like 6 years ago now, but they faced each other like 3 times in a row. Of course, you're going to get a rivalry out there.
Yeah, and they were good games. Like, they were good played games. They were rock'em sock'em games. That's how rivalries are built. Crazy stuff happens.
Yes.
Whereas when we play the Panthers, even the playoffs, yeah, they were tough. Yes, girl, get it. We didn't necessarily build that Florida to Florida rivalry. So why are the two expansion teams? Just because they're new doesn't mean they're going to be rivals.
Exactly. And
it's not like Seattle and it's not like Washington and Nevada have a state rivalry. Like,
no, they do not.
New York and New Jersey.
Yes. However, there has been some exciting news with the Seattle Kraken.
Yes. Speaking of them stepping their games up, I almost... You could cut this or leave this in. I don't care. I almost said they stepped their pussies up because that's what they say on Drag Race.
Oh, that's great.
But anyway, they are the first team in NHL history to sweep 7 games on a road trip. And that's significant because it's harder to win on the road.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Fans. It is cool. Like, I think that says something about the organization that they're really focused on building. They're really trying to be contenders. And it's hard. It's hard to win when you don't have your fans around cheering you on. And lots of people
It's true.
booing you.
Yeah, no, that is definitely a pretty cool milestone. And I know we like to give the Seattle Kraken shit for, trying to make fetch happen. But it is kind of cool that the expansion team did this and is kind of making their mark of, they belong in the league too. This isn't last year. They're going to prove that they can come out and contend. And I mean, they're quite high in the standings this year. So they could be making a playoff run.
I think they definitely are going to be in the playoffs. I'm going to make that prediction now.
All right, I like
that'd
it.
be cool. And you know what, though? They may have gotten this milestone, but they are not the league's leading road team this year. Do you know who it is?
The New Jersey Devils.
Oh, yes, it is. I'm so proud of my babies after the first 2 games where they lost and we were all screaming that we needed to fire our coach. Maybe he does know what he's doing.
Yes. They just
So
needed a little talking to, and
they needed a talking to, and it turns out Vanacek should be their number 1 goalie right now. I'm sorry, Mackenzie Blackwood, for your injuries and
I did
whatever.
see his name on some article that was a potential should we trade him before the trade deadline kind of thing.
Oh yeah, they gotta dump him. He keeps getting hurt, and they pay him decent money. So, other prediction: Mackenzie Blackwood
at the trade deadline.
You gone.
All right,
You're gone.
All
At
right.
the trade deadline.
You've heard it from Stephanie. She's got 2 predictions, 2 hot takes. Let's see how they work out this season.
That's a lot of predictions in the first period. And we've got one more bit of news.
Yes. Let's talk about some news going around Florida.
Yes. This is Florida news. And Muffy told me I'm allowed to say, what the fuck, just once. So there you get it. So if you listen to the first episode, you know that we are fans of the NHL's Hockey is for Everyone campaign. They don't always meet the mark, but I think it's good that they're trying to bring women, people of color, the LGBT community. I know I left out a bunch of letters. I'm so sorry. People with disabilities, indigenous people. They're trying to make more of an effort to make the league more diverse, not only in players, but back of house, behind the scenes, the people running the organization.
And the fans. And the fan base.
And the fans. And the fan base. And so along these lines, in Sunrise, where the All-Star game is going to be, they held a job fair for diverse job seekers looking to pursue careers in hockey, is the quote. And it was geared towards participants that were 18 and older, based in the U.S., identify as female, Black, Asian Pacific Islander, Hispanic, Latino, Indigenous, LGBTQIA+, or any other person with disabilities, veterans. Pretty much, I'm just going to be blunt, it's everyone except cisgendered straight white men who make up the majority of the players, the fans, and the people who run the organization. So they're trying to, they're trying to make good on the Hockey is for Everyone thing.
Yeah.
And yes.
Tiki knows what's coming next.
This is a good place to bark. And, we're not going to get into politics too often on the podcast. Oh, but our governor, Ronnie D., blasted the league for being discriminatory because they were trying to recruit
people that were not straight white men.
And so, okay, I'm going to say it one more time. What the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, when you try to include everyone, it's just sad to see that it's like, oh, because the league is made up of one group or majority are made up of one group of people. Anytime we try to include anyone else, it's discriminating against that one group.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because the league will not be better if we do not bring in a diverse group of voices and stories of how hockey has impacted different communities. I mean, look at us. We're 2 women who grew up watching hockey with our dads. And we love this game. We love this game so much. And I know both of us probably, if any NHL team or ECHL team called us up and was like, hey, you want a job? We'd jump at the chance.
We would.
But
we
sometimes
have both applied for jobs within the league. Not gotten them.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Hear that, NHL? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Multiple teams, too, I'd like to point out.
So, I mean, this to me was just a stunt to get more attention to a very specific group of people. And
And here's the other thing. Nobody is saying white men can't apply for these jobs and that they may not get it if they're the right person. But at least it is welcoming other groups of people who may not have felt like they could apply for the job before because the league has always been a specific group.
That is true. They also didn't, this event did not say, white men, you cannot walk in this door.
Right. You
It's
can still
just
attend.
Explicitly, you can still attend. You can still apply. We just want to go beyond, we want to go outside of our box and think about different things, different people. So this is a, God, Ronnie D, this is just not a cute look for you.
No, but...
And it's not cute for the state of Florida.
But he has many supporters in the state of Florida who I'm sure are thrilled with his thoughts on it.
Some of whom have probably never watched a hockey game in their life. Despite,
Also
quite
true.
frankly, despite, Florida is a great hockey state because we do actually have two very good teams. And have for quite some time.
Yes.
So just saying. But yes, we are also well aware about people think about where we live. But
yeah.
Anyway, just putting that out there.
Yes.
We believe hockey is for everyone.
We do.
We think this was a good move by the NHL. I'm sorry to see that they backtracked a little bit because you don't give in to bullies.
No.
And this is bully behavior.
Yes, it is. And I think that's enough political talk for one episode. I think that concludes our first period of the game. What do you think?
Yep, I think that concludes the first period, and we'll be back in just a toodle-doo is what I was about to say.
Sure, just a toodle-doo.
We'll just be back in a little toodle-doo, and we'll tell you about the rules. So the toodle-doo is over.
We're back for period 2, where we are going to teach you some of the basic rules and things that happen in a hockey game.
So what do you got for me, Muffy? I'm going to pretend again that I'm just a little baby person who's never seen a hockey game before.
All right. Today we're going to talk about the power play and the penalty kill. So, fun hockey jargon.
Yes, it is.
All right. So, Stephanie, pick 2 teams in the league. Who's playing each other today?
The Arizona Coyotes.
Okay.
And the Carolina Hurricanes.
All right. So we've got the Coyotes versus the Hurricanes. And they each have their 5 players on the ice, their goalie in the nets. And all of a sudden, one of the Carolina Hurricanes players rams someone into the boards real hard. They don't have the puck. They're going to go get a timeout.
A timeout. Something on the little tiny box.
Yep. Yeah.
And one day you'll tell me why you can't do that, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, when a player does something bad, they get put basically in a 2-minute timeout or they get a penalty. They will go and sit in a little box called the penalty box. And
where's the penalty box located?
On the opposite side of the ice from the players' benches, right down at the ice level. You can sit behind it and talk to players if you want.
It is kind of funny when people do that.
Yes. I just like when you see them on TV with their signs.
I also like when, some of the players decide to just disrobe in there. It's kind of funny.
I mean, get a chance to cool off. All right. We're going into a whole different level here. So right now, Carolina Hurricane player, he did something bad. So he's going and sitting in the box for 2 minutes. Now,
with or without his clothes on, we don't know.
We don't know. That's considered a minor penalty, 2 minutes. There are other penalties that happen that may give you more time. So let's say he had done a high sticking penalty where he took his stick, whacked it across the face of the Arizona Coyote player. If blood is drawn, then he's getting 2 minor penalties, which results in 4 minutes. But if there's no blood,
minor.
Yes. If there's no blood, then it's only 2 minutes.
So that's why sometimes when you go to a game and the high sticking and they get it in the face, you see players they take their glove off and they shove their hands in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for blood.
Mm-hmm. Or trying to make blood happen so that...
Or trying... trying to
you know,
make
pull
blood
that
happen.
fake tooth out so that, look what happened.
So today we're trying to make fetch happen and blood happen.
That's
So
fine.
do with that what
That's
you
fine.
will. Okay, back to the scenario. So they've only
Yes.
gotten 2 minutes in this scenario.
Only 2 minutes in this scenario. So while this is happening, the Arizona Coyote players there will be 5 players on the ice. The Carolina Hurricanes will only have 4 players on the ice. So this gives Arizona obviously an advantage. If they score within those 2 minutes, the Hurricanes will get their player back. They may not have had to sit the whole 2 minutes. Maybe it was only 90 seconds that it took the Coyotes to score. Maybe they don't score at all, and then the Hurricanes just get to be back at full strength with 5 players on each team. Also, during this time, the Hurricanes can shoot the puck all the way down the ice without having an icing call that I believe we discussed in the first episode. We explained what icing was, and don't have to worry about icing if you are on the penalty kill or the PK.
So what I'm hearing is, just repeating this back, just
Yep.
make sure I understand.
Let's go.
That if someone harms my player in any way from the other team and the ref decides it's a penalty, they go sit for a timeout.
Mm-hmm.
So then my team still has my 5 guys plus the goalie, and they have now 4 guys plus the goalie.
Yep.
So my team is now on the power play.
Yep.
And they are on the penalty kill.
Absolutely. You got it right.
Thank you. I feel very accomplished.
Now, we'll get more in depth into this in some future episodes, but there can be longer penalties than 2 minutes or the 4 minutes that I mentioned with the double minor if there's blood. You can get a 5-minute penalty. That's typically when a fight happens. The gloves are dropped. The 2 players start, throwing the punches at each other.
And the gloves being dropped is key to this scenario.
Yes, it is. Otherwise, it most likely will only be a 2-minute roughing penalty.
Right. It's also a band that does not have the vibes I ever felt for being called 5 for fighting. They were not angsty enough for me. It was like a lot of piano stuff, but I digress.
And then if something really bad happens, again, usually resulting from a fight, a player can receive a 10-minute misconduct penalty.
And if they're really, really bad, they could get a game misconduct penalty.
Which means they're out of the game for however much time is remaining.
Right. But 10 minutes, you generally also don't sit in the box for 10 minutes, depending on.
They'll usually send you to the locker room.
You don't. Yeah. So even if there's 15 minutes left, that's when you really need to cool off.
Yeah.
So that's when your mom it's gone beyond you need to sit in your timeout chair and you have to go to your room. I might be projecting, but
yes. What did Larry and Arlene do to you as a child?
No, I literally had a tiny little timeout chair in the kitchen so I could see the timer. And my mother was like, I never watched you. You could get up and leave, but you never did. You waited until the timer went off. So I was actually good in my little penalty box.
Oh, look at you. Good job.
Thanks. See, that might be a 2-minute roughing penalty.
I don't know. It could be chirping because, only Pat Maroon and who was it on the Toronto Maple Leafs? They got the chirping calls last year during the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember. We'll have to look that up and get back to you.
Yes. But we should explain chirping before we move on.
Oh, yes, we should. So chirping is basically what it sounds like. You are going back and forth with the other player, just
kind of mouthing off at each other.
Yeah, you're talking smack on the playground. Really, all of these penalties are things you probably did on the playground, but you have to go sit down and think about what you did for a little bit of time.
Yeah, and chirping hardly ever gets called. The players talk smack with each other all the time. So
it has to be really bad.
Actually got called was kind of funny.
I think because they were doing it on the bench outside of their like sticking their heads out, and there's like a space in between the two benches where usually like one of the announcers sits for like for the TV broadcast, and they were like yelling around the TV broadcaster.
Yes. It was pretty funny.
It was actually, yeah, it was pretty funny. I wish they were mic'd at that point. But
yeah, that would have been
so that's the
good.
power play, the penalty kill. We actually broke down all the different timings for, different penalties, and then gave you a bonus chirping one. So
Yeah, and we'll break down some more of the things that can happen to result in a penalty in a future episode, so you know what things result in these timeouts.
Yes. And so that wraps up period 2. We'll take another toodle-doo.
Love it.
This can't be a thing. And we'll be back for period 3. Okay, so we are back for period 3. And anything goes. So today, Muffy, we are talking about 2 hockey kids that have just stolen my heart.
I love
Stolen
it.
it.
I love when we can talk about little kid hockey.
Little kid hockey is my favorite. I love in between periods at some of the games when they have the youth teams play. It truly is the only thing that like keeps me in my seat during periods, because everything else I think is silly. But the first kid, back to our love of hockey is for everyone on the NHL blog, William Douglas, who writes the column The Color of Hockey, which is all about BIPOC people in the sport. He highlighted a 7-year-old from suburban Indianapolis named Desmond Garrett, because not only is he learning all of the skills, apparently for Christmas he needed a new blazer because he wants to walk into his games like the pros do, and he wants to be dressed up and styling.
I love it. I love it so much. And I always love the hockey fashion when you see on like Instagram or whatever, when the teams share what they're wearing in, because some of the guys have some pretty snazzy suits. So I love that at 7 years old, this kid is totally embracing that look, and he wants to enter his game like an NHL player.
There are 2 photos on the blog. Each of them, he's got like little blazer. One of them, he's got like really nice like summer blue slacks with his loafers. The other one, he's got his like Pat Maroon Fedora. And his dad said that he wanted to make sure everybody could see his suit, so he got a nice coat. And that between fashion and hockey, his dad says he has no money.
I believe it. Hockey is not a cheap sport, and if that kid wants if that kid wants to be dressed to a T, it's not going to be cheap either.
He's just so cute, and his smile is so big. He also last year made the Athletic style power ranking. So I guess when the Athletic did their list of like who dressed the best, when he was 6, he made the list. Like,
that's awesome.
It's amazing. Like, I will link to it in the show notes, and
we'll be sure to share some of these photos on our social media platforms.
Yeah, but what I also think is great is what his dad is doing is taking him to ECHL games and pro games wherever he can, and getting him to meet other Black players, coaches, staffers, so he can see himself in the sport, and he can see that there's a path for him anywhere he wants to go, and really steeping him in Black history of hockey, which in February we can touch more on, since that's Black History Month.
I like it.
And there is a rich history of BIPOC athletes. And I think it's just so cool that this dad is embracing his son's love of the game, embracing his son's love of fashion, but also making sure that he has a community that he can rely on as he grows up. I just thought it was really cool.
It is really cool. I think it's an awesome story. And again, relates back to anyone can love the game of hockey. Anyone can play the game of hockey. Like, it's a really great, powerful message. I think it's super fun. And at 7 years old, to have places like the NHL blog covering you and to meet some of these star athletes is pretty damn cool.
It is really cool. Apparently they have like synthetic ice in their garage and he does like drills and like he's like really serious. So like
Especially if you're
I
gonna
hope
skate on synthetic ice. That's awful.
he's dedicated.
He is dedicated because that is not fun to skate on.
I hope we can continue to watch him on his journey, and hopefully one day we'll see him in the NHL. Just thought it was lovely. Or on the U.S. national team. There's so many things. Let's just support this child, and he's just so cute.
Love it.
Want to talk about another cute kid?
I do want to talk about another cute kid, and this one is funny to me because we are going to talk about Eli Manning's daughter, and Eli Manning is a star football player, but his daughter plays hockey, and I love it.
Well, you want to know who else's dad was a football player? JT Brown's dad was a football player. It is true.
He played for the Vikings.
Yeah, and then he became a hockey player. So there's something going on with football players producing hockey players. But the video of Eli Manning's daughter, Caroline, that has caught Twitter ablaze and the TikTok, she scored her first goal and her dad sounded like any other dad at a sporting event and just like lost his shit.
Well, it's exciting to score your first goal, number one. Number two,
she looks like a badass doing it.
She does. Number two, she looks amazing doing it. It's a beautiful goal. And number three, as an athlete himself, he knows how exciting it is for something like that to happen. So of course he's going to lose his mind.
Yeah, and it's just so cute. And again, back to our hockey is for everyone. This is a little girl. And that's important that girls play hockey just like boys. They score goals and their dads are just as proud of them.
It's
and this
true.
rink was outside, so it was freaking cold.
Oh, yeah.
So that adds a whole nother layer.
That does add a whole nother layer.
So we'll also link to this one if you haven't seen it yet. It's super cute.
It's adorable.
And that's our third period. Kids and hockey.
Kids and hockey. What more could you want? Dogs and hockey. Dogs and hockey might be the other
Dogs
thing.
and hockey.
But we do have our Fur Baby Friday feature on Instagram every week. So make sure you're checking out the hockey dogs on our gram.
Yes, for sure. Check out the hockey dogs. And that's a wrap on this episode.
It sure is. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow us on the social media channels. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for Shut Your Five Hole and Listen, and you will be able to find us. We have some good content.
Yes, and we do. It's really, I enjoy I'm biased, but also if you are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you could leave us a review, that'd be great. That's how people find us. So if you like us, share us, write a review, and we'll talk to you in a few weeks.
Yes, we are going to be consistent. We promise.
We promise. Bye.